Discovered. After divorce, she finally found true love. A heartwarming journey of transformation. Sarah felt a lump in her throat as she wiped down yet another kitchen counter that day. The sun peeked through the window, illuminating the dust dancing in the air like forgotten dreams. In Maplewood, everyone seemed to know her story, from her painful divorce to her struggles as a single mother. It was as if her life had become a cautionary tale whispered over coffee mugs and at school drop-offs. Dreading the echo of judgment behind her, she fought tears, pulling herself together. She had 2 little ones who depended on her. Their laughter was the melody that kept her heart from breaking. But behind closed doors, the weight she carried was heavy. She worked tirelessly cleaning homes and waiting tables at the local diner just to keep the lights on. With every bill that came in, doubt crept in. Was she enough? A flash of insecurity struck her, a reminder of the bruises left from her marriage, of feeling unworthy, of the words that cut deep. She could hardly live without longing for acceptance and belonging, desperately wanting to feel whole again. In the confines of the community center's support group for divorced women, Sarah found warmth and understanding. Over shared cups of coffee, she connected with others who bore their scars. But one evening, a rugged man named Tom shared his story, a veteran with grief etched across his face. They bonded over their joint experiences of hurt and loneliness, safe in the shared space of vulnerability. Sparks ignited between them, igniting a flicker of hope Sarah hadn't dared to wish for. Could this man truly be her solace? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But obstacles loomed. When Sarah approached the local bakery owner about a loan to start her own cleaning business, she felt hope flourish like wildflowers. The warmth of the diner was a stark contrast to the cold denial that came her way. "I can't lend you money. Your divorce speaks louder than your dreams," he had said. It crushed her. Whispers of judgment began surfacing anew, old friends turning to strangers, the gossip like an unwanted shadow. Yet some rallied around her, believing in her fight for fairness and dignity. Tom stood by her side. But with rising tensions came a tragic misunderstanding that left Sarah reeling. The budding relationship felt tenuous as she wrestled with her insecurities. Perhaps she didn't deserve him? Or was this another form of rejection about to unfold? As Maplewood Fair approached, a determined fire ignited within her. This was her moment to take a stand, to confront not just her own fears, but the systemic prejudices that clung to her neighbors' hearts. And so, as the sun set, she prepared to speak, hoping to transcend her pain and ignite a spark of change. With her children watching, she stepped onto that stage, heart racing, poised between fear and hope. Will the town see me for who I am now, or will they forever look at me through the lens of my past? She thought, knowing that the answer could redefine her and her community forever. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The bright lights of the fair illuminated the faces of the town, a sea of familiar and unfamiliar eyes, all waiting to hear what she had to say. She hardly recognized herself in that moment, standing before them, her cheeks flushed with determination and vulnerability. As she looked out over the crowd, she spotted her kids' faces shining with pride and encouragement. Their innocent smiles infused her with warmth, grounding her when the whispers of doubt threatened to rise. Gathering her thoughts, she opened her mouth and felt the words spill out like the rush of a river. "I'm Sarah," she started, her voice quivering but steady. "Some of you know me from before, probably too well." She chuckled nervously, and a few people in the audience smiled back, easing the tension. "I'm here to share that I am more than my past, more than the label of divorcee that so many pinned to my chest." With every sentence, her confidence grew. "I've fought hard to carve a space for myself and my children in this world. I've cleaned houses, served meals, and stretched every dollar. I stand here not just as a woman trying to make it, but as a passionate mother and a resilient fighter. I want to create a life that gives my children the stability they deserve, a future that whispers strength into their souls." The crowd was silent. She could feel their eyes on her, but she pressed on, choosing to embrace the vulnerability. I know many of you have your judgments. Maybe you think my past defines me, but I refuse to let it imprison me. Instead, I am transforming it into fuel. I want to grow to start a cleaning business. I want to empower myself and have the freedom to reinvest into our lives. She took a deep breath, her chest swelling with emotion. As her speech continued, she noticed Tom standing in the back, his face a mixture of admiration and pride. It gave her strength to know he believed in her, despite her fears. I am asking for your support, not just for myself, but for every single person who feels stuck by the weight of judgment. Let us lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. We have the power to change our narratives. She paused, scanning the crowd for reactions. The murmurs began, some heads nodding in agreement, others still unsure. In that moment of silence, Sarah felt her own body tense, anticipation hanging in the air like thick fog. As she prepared to close, she felt a rush of hope. What if we became a community that embraces change? What if we choose to see strength in the struggles? Thunderous applause erupted unexpectedly. Sarah's heart soared. She had opened a door, not just for herself, but for others who were also weighed down by their pasts. She couldn't predict how everyone would respond, but she made a choice to believe in the strength of her journey. When she scanned for Tom once again, she noticed a flicker of something in his eyes, a mix of pride and vulnerability. This man who had listened to her fears and insecurities was starting to see her as she truly was. Strong, capable, and deserving of love. As the fair continued and the crowd dissipated, Sarah felt exhilarated. She had taken a significant step toward her dreams. But lurking in her mind was a question that would soon unravel. Would she have the courage not only to rise for herself but to embrace the love with Tom? Despite her fears of rejection and the past haunting her? The night deepened, and as the stars twinkled above Maplewood, the answers hung just out of reach. The fairgrounds were alive with laughter and music, but Sarah felt a curious hush inside her. The adrenaline of her speech still coursed through her veins, making her feel both invincible and exposed. As she stepped away from the makeshift stage, her heart still raced. The applause lingered in the air like a warm embrace, and she couldn't help but smile, even while uncertainty tugged at her thoughts. Tom approached her, a genuine smile lighting up his face. It was the kind of smile that could melt away all the doubts that had been swirling in her mind. "You were amazing up there," he said, his voice low and sincere. "You really connected with people." "Thank you," she replied, a blush creeping up her cheeks. She felt validated by his words, but as their eyes locked, she noticed a deeper emotion hovering between them, a spark that hinted at something more than friendship. "Do you want to get some cotton candy?" he asked, glancing over at the colorful stand adorned with the sugary treat. "I'll buy the first round." Sarah laughed, a sound filled with genuine delight. "Only if you can catch it before it disappears," she challenged, recalling the playful banter they often shared. As they walked side by side, the air buzzing with excitement, Sarah found herself struggling to retain her composure. At that moment, surrounded by the scents of popcorn and fried dough, she wanted desperately to believe that hope was tangible. With every glance at Tom, she felt the walls of her past start to chip away. Yet, something inside her hesitated. Could she really open her heart again? They reached the cotton candy stand, and Tom ordered 2 fluffy cones in bright pink. As he turned, a strand of hair fell into his eyes, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of affection for him. "You should let me help you with your business plans," he said suddenly, taking a bite of his treat, his enthusiasm infectious. "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart racing at the suggestion. "I've seen what you've done for yourself, for your kids. You're resourceful and you deserve a chance to shine," he said, motioning for them to step aside from the bustling crowd. "I've had some business experience. Maybe we could brainstorm together?" Sarah's stomach fluttered at the thought not just of business but of leaning on him, of trusting him. "That would be amazing, but I don't want to impose," she started, but he cut her off gently. "Sarah, you're not imposing. And besides, there's nothing wrong with working together to build something great. I want to see you succeed." She took a moment, feeling the weight of his words. It was one thing to dream about a better future, but another to entertain the idea of accepting help. For so long she had fought battles alone. Could she really start to integrate him into her life? Just then the laughter of children filled the space around them, and Sarah turned to see her kids enjoying the fair rides. They looked so blissful, so unburdened. The desire for that kind of joy surged inside her. It was a reminder that she was building not only her dream, but theirs too. "All right, let us brainstorm," she agreed, feeling a rush of excitement. "You might just be the secret ingredient I didn't know I needed." Tom's eyes lit up, and the smile he gave her was like a promise. But deep down, she could still feel that lingering fear, the fear of letting someone in only to be hurt again. As they moved away from the crowd, their laughter merging with the music, Sarah couldn't shake the question twisting in her gut. Was she really ready to take a leap of faith? While the fair twinkled around them, one truth loomed large. Building a future meant facing the past, and maybe, just maybe, allowing love in again. What would happen when Sarah finally confronted her fears head-on? The colors of the fairgrounds seemed to blur into a dreamlike haze as Tom and Sarah wandered away from the crowd. The haunting melodies of a nearby carousel faded into the background, leaving them cocooned in a moment that felt both fragile and exhilarating. Tom's laughter was like a gentle nudge, pushing Sarah to step outside her comfort zone, if only for a moment. "So what's your vision?" Tom leaned against a wooden post, a playful grin lighting up his face that made her heart flutter. "What do you want to build?" Sarah shifted her weight, trying to suppress the flood of ideas and emotions overwhelming her. "Honestly, I've thought about creating a community space somewhere people can come together, feel safe, learn, and maybe even connect." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Tom raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "Like a community center?" "Exactly. A place for workshops, events, and resources, especially for single parents. I want it to be a hub of support," Sarah explained, her voice animated. The idea seemed to shine brighter under Tom's gaze, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. "That's amazing. You have so much passion for this," he said, genuinely impressed. "But what's holding you back?" Her breath caught for a moment as her defenses flared. "I guess I'm not sure I could pull it off alone. The thought of starting something new is a bit daunting. What if it fails?" Tom stepped closer, the seriousness in his expression drawing her in. "What if it succeeds? You've already fought so hard to get here. You deserve to see your dreams come to life. And I'll be right here cheering you on." The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a soft blanket. She felt seen, understood. This was the kind of support she had longed for, yet shied away from due to past disappointments. But could she really allow herself to trust him? "Tom," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's hard for me to let people in. I've had my share of disappointments." Her heart raced at the vulnerability pouring out. "I understand," he replied gently, stepping back as he rubbed the back of his neck, his own gaze wavering. "Everyone has their battles. It's what we do with them that counts, right?" Just then a group of children ran past, their laughter echoing like a sweet reminder of simple joys. Sarah watched as her kids tossed cotton candy into the air, their carefree spirits contagious. She imagined a community where others could feel that level of joy, security, and togetherness. The dream she had clung to suddenly felt both frightening and thrilling. "Maybe I'm willing to take a chance," she said, her voice steadier now. "Maybe I need to start believing in myself." Tom's eyes sparkled with encouragement. "Let us make it happen," he said, filling the air with possibilities. "I know how to set up things like budgets and timelines. Together we could create something incredible." Sarah felt the knot of fear loosen just a little. The idea of building a future alongside Tom was enticing, but it brought a new set of questions. As they moved closer to a brightly lit stall decorated with paper lanterns, Tom suddenly stopped, his expression shifting as he turned to her. "But what about us, Sarah? Can we?" His voice trailed off, uncharacteristic hesitation thick in the air. And right there, the weight of their unspoken feelings hung between them, heavier than the cotton candy in their hands. Sarah's heart raced as she looked up into his determined eyes. What did she really want? Could she navigate the crossroads of business with emotions in play? "Tom," she hesitated, the uncertainty creeping back in. The fair around them continued to pulse with life, but Sarah felt frozen, teetering on the edge of change. What would happen if she finally took the leap, not just in business but in allowing love to blossom once more? The air crackled with a tension that had nothing to do with the carnival rides around them. Tom's gaze felt like a gentle hammer pounding on the door to her heart, and Sarah swallowed hard, grappling with the weight of the moment. She had envisioned so many paths, successful ventures, joyful children, and serene nights, but now another possibility loomed ahead. The promise of something deeper with Tom. Can we what? She asked, her voice trembling, a mixture of curiosity and fear bubbling up within her. Tom took a half step forward, as if inching toward a precipice. Can we explore this? Us? I mean, I don't want to overstep, but his voice trailed off again, the unsaid hanging heavy in the air. The lights from the surrounding stalls twinkled like stars, yet all Sarah could see were the shadows of her past heartbreak, the loneliness that had become her armor. The thought of stepping out of that cocoon felt almost terrifying. Tom, she wanted to find the right words. She wanted to say something profound, smart, but all that came was a heart that raced and a mind that swirled. He lifted a hand, brushing strands of hair from his forehead. I know this weekend has been about dreams and plans, but I can't help thinking about how I feel about you. It's like, I don't know, everything just seems more real when you're around. His honesty hit her like the carnival's sweet aroma of caramel apples, both delicious and overwhelming. You really feel that way? She asked, as if needing confirmation that this wasn't just fantasy. Absolutely, he replied, eyes earnest, as if they had locked onto a secret only the two of them could understand. You inspire me, Sarah. Your passion, your strength, it's contagious. We could be more than this moment. We could be partners. The word echoed in her mind, bare and beautiful, but it carried the weight of a decision she wasn't sure she could handle. Making plans to create a space for the community felt clear-cut, tangible. But opening herself up to love, to someone like Tom, felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into a vast unknown. Tom, I want to believe you, she finally murmured, her voice barely above the distant sounds of laughter and celebrations. But I've tried relationships before. I have kids to think about. What if it doesn't work? He stepped closer, his presence warm and steady. Then we try again or we learn together. But I promise, I'm here to support you, to stand beside you. Whether it's in life or this project you're passionate about. She felt the knot return in her chest, wavering between hope and inhibition. Would trusting him mean giving up control? The idea was jarring yet exhilarating. As Sarah shifted her weight, distracted by the carousel spinning in the background, she caught sight of her kids beaming with happiness, devouring their cotton candy with gleeful abandon. They were carefree in the moment, and it struck her deep in her core. What if she could be more like them right now? What if she allowed herself to smile, to take the plunge? Maybe I'm ready to find out, she said, inhaling deeply, as if she needed to fill every part of her with courage. A flicker of anticipation danced in Tom's eyes, but just as she felt herself ready to embrace the leap, the haunting chime of the carousel shifted her focus. There is something else we need to talk about. She started, her heart thudding as the reality of her decision loomed before her again. Tom's expression shifted slightly, uncertainty creeping back into the edges of his smile. What do you mean? As Sarah's resolve wavered, they both knew that the next moments could change everything. What if we? A loud cheer erupted from the nearby fairgoers, diverting their attention momentarily, but she couldn't shake the sense that they were on the brink of something monumental. Could she find the courage to embrace both love and her dreams at the same time? Could we make this work? She ventured, her voice tremulous, slipping past her lips like a delicate secret. Tom's expression was unreadable, but his eyes sparked with determination. We can try. Together, right? In that instant, the world around them narrowed. Lights blurred, laughter faded, and everything seemed to hang suspended in time. They were standing at a crossroads, filled with endless possibilities, yet burdened by their own uncertainties. Sarah took a deep breath, preparing to take the next step toward her dreams and maybe something more. But would she truly let herself fall? Her heart raced as she realized how quickly everything was shifting. Could she dare to embrace both love and fear all at once? The carousel continued to spin, its colorful horses rising and falling against the backdrop of twinkling lights, a vivid representation of the joy that seemed just within her grasp. Sarah felt both anchored and adrift, caught between her past and the undefined future that loomed ahead. Tom's steady gaze held her in place, and for a heartbeat, she found a surge of hope. What if I've been wrong all this time? She whispered, almost questioning herself more than him. Tom's brow furrowed slightly, concern flickering across his face. What do you mean? She gestured slightly, taking in the laughter around them, the carefree bliss radiating from her children. I've been so focused on being the responsible one, the one who has to have it all figured out. It's like I've put myself in this box, always trying to protect my heart and theirs." He nodded slowly, as if he understood every unspoken fear tangled in her words. Sometimes you have to break free to really see what's in front of you, and those moments can lead to the greatest joy. Joy. The word hung in the air, weaving a path through her uncertainty. She looked again at her kids, still spinning with glee as the music played on, unaware of the heavy questions weighing on their mother. "What if our happiness became intertwined?" Tom suggested, his voice a comforting balm. "What if trusting each other is the key to something fulfilling for us and for your kids?" Her heart fluttered at the thought of partnership where dreams could flourish together, not simply as a series of burdens, but as shared aspirations. The nagging edge of doubt remained, but the prospect of embracing love felt warmer now, less daunting in the glow of his encouragement. "Tom," she started, her courage faltering. But before she could formulate the words, the vibrant sound of laughter pierced through the air, drawing her gaze back to her children. They were on a ride together, arms raised and faces lit up with pure joy. Sarah's heart softened at the sight, a sudden clarity breaking through the fog of anxiety. "Kids," she called, waving them over. Their cheerful shouts greeted her as they bounded towards her, cotton candy still sticking to their fingertips. "We won, Mom. We had the best time," her youngest exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with life. "Look," her daughter said, pointing at Tom, who smiled back as brightly as the kids. "He joined us on the ride." "I think they've adopted me," Tom grinned, his warmth wrapping around Sarah like a soft blanket. At that moment, the barrier she had built began to crumble little by little. Seeing Tom interact effortlessly with her children opened something deep inside a possibility. "What if," she murmured again, this time with newfound clarity, "what if I allowed us to figure this out together? Not just with love but as a family." "Together," Tom echoed, a hint of unwavering certainty in his voice. "That's how it works, Sarah. It's not a simple path, but it's a beautiful one." A sense of calm washed over her. There was more than just hope, there was a contagious excitement sparking within her. She dared to think about the layers they could build as partners, weaving their lives into a colorful tapestry. But just as that thought blossomed, the sudden commotion from a nearby troupe of performers caught her eye. The crowd gathered, laughter and applause emanating from the lively scene. "What is happening over there?" Sarah asked, not able to contain her curiosity. The enticing idea of layering experiences into their newfound bond urged her forward. Tom's hand found hers, a reassuring squeeze that ignited her sense of adventure. "Let us go find out." As they stepped toward the commotion, laughter ringing in the air, a realization dawned on her: embracing love meant embracing the uncertainties as well. It was a thrilling step forward, and the thought alone sent excitement spiraling through her. But looming behind her joy was a question: could they navigate the chaos of blending their lives into one? As they joined the throng, Sarah's heart raced, filled with anticipation of what was to come, but also uncertainty. Would they really find a way to make this work? The challenges of blending their worlds awaited just beyond the laughter. The crowd buzzed with excitement as they reached the performance area, a makeshift stage bursting with energy. A juggler, clad in bright colors, tossed balls into the air while a clown danced around, playfully engaging the audience. Laughter erupted from all sides, and for a moment, Sarah felt the tension of the past slip away into the rhythm of joy. Tom leaned close to Sarah, his breath warm against her ear. "See, this is the kind of fun you've been missing out on." His voice was light, filled with mirth, and it pulled her out of her thoughts. Watching her children giggle at the clown's silly antics, Sarah's heart swelled. She felt something shift within her, like a door creaking open after being locked for far too long. Maybe it was okay to want happiness, even after everything she'd been through. "Can we stay here for a bit?" her daughter shouted over the noise, bouncing on her feet. "Look at the clown." "Of course, honey," Sarah answered, her smile matching her children's enthusiasm. She turned to Tom, who was already kneeling beside her youngest, encouraging him to mimic the juggler's movements. He tossed imaginary balls into the air, grinning as if he had discovered a new world of play. Sarah watched them, her heart fluttering again. The sight of Tom effortlessly stepping into the role of a caregiver made her feel an overwhelming sense of warmth. A part of her still hesitated, wary of the precarious path ahead. Could she really let him in? A flash of movement caught her eye. Her daughter had dashed off, hand in hand with a little friend they had met earlier, with laughter trailing behind them. In that moment, Sarah felt a pang of longing not just for the present fun but for a future she had held back from dreaming about. "Look at them," Tom said softly, watching the girls. "They don't worry about tomorrow. They're just here living in the moment." His words reverberated within her. Sarcasm often shielded her pain, but now it felt more like a barrier between her and what she yearned for: connection and love. As she turned to respond, she noticed the juggler's act had shifted, and the music infused energy into everyone's movements. It had become infectious, and the dancing crowd swayed to the joyful tune. "Let us join them," said Tom, already moving toward the rhythm. "Wait." Sarah hesitated, overwhelmed yet again by her vulnerabilities. "What if I make a fool of myself?" Tom paused and turned, his expression gentle yet encouraging. "What if you're just having fun? We all look silly sometimes, but it's in those moments that we really live. Come on." He reached out a hand to her, inviting her into the dance of spontaneity and joy that felt like stepping into the light after a long, cold winter. Taking a deep breath, she grasped his hand. The thrill of surrendering to the moment lifted her spirits. As they joined the throng, laughter bubbling around them, she felt a rush of hope. They twirled and swayed, her initial reservations melting into a freedom she hadn't known she craved. But as the vibrant melody enveloped them, a thought lingered at the back of her mind. Would this moment spun from happiness last, or would it vanish into the shadows of doubt once the song ended? The question hung like the final note of the music, echoing in her heart. Would she have the courage to face whatever came next? Caught in the joy around her, she hoped she didn't have to find out alone. As the upbeat melody continued to pulse through the air, Sarah found herself swept away in the joy of the moment. The music soared and she followed Tom's lead, letting her body sway and turn with the rhythm. She felt free, like a weight had been lifted from her chest. Her laughter mingled with the notes, and for the first time in ages, she felt vibrant, alive, and connected. Around her, the world was painted with colors brighter than she remembered. The children's laughter swirled around her, inviting her deeper into this blissful reality. Even the crowd seemed to dance in unison, their movements echoing the playful abandon Sarah had buried for so long. It was all so intoxicating, and she couldn't help but wonder if this was what true happiness felt like. "See, you're a natural," Tom exclaimed, spinning her around with a joyous grin. The heat of his excitement radiated off him, his eyes sparkling like stars under a summer sky. It was contagious, and as she locked eyes with him, Sarah felt her heart leap. She wasn't just dancing, she was reconnecting with a part of herself, one she thought had been lost forever. But even amid celebration, a small voice crept in at the edges of her mind. What came next? What waited on the other side of this moment? Would it be the same cycle of doubt and retreat she had lived in for so long? Unable to shake the thought, Sarah felt a pang of fear pierce her newfound joy. "Hey, what's going on in that pretty head of yours?" Tom asked, his brows furrowing in concern. She took a deep breath, her smile faltering just slightly. I don't know." She laughed shakily, then glanced away. "This feels amazing, but it scares me." Tom stepped closer, the music still swirling between them. "Why? Because it's good?" "Because it won't last," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know how to hold on to this." She met his gaze, vulnerability spilling from her eyes. "I can't help but think that when the music fades, everything will go back to how it was before." Tom shook his head firmly, as if her words were a challenge. "You don't have to let fear guide you. This moment is real." He lifted a hand to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the warmth from his touch igniting a spark of hope in her heart. Why not just enjoy it? The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her, softening the grip of her worries. But still, the thorn of anxiety pricked at her conscience. Could she really embrace the present and take the leap into whatever came next? In that moment, the crowd jolted with excitement, drawing their attention back to the performance. A new act was beginning, a magician who promised wonders that caught the audience's collective breath. It felt like an omen, as if the universe was nudging her to believe in magic again. "Let us watch," Tom suggested, gesturing toward the stage. "Let them amaze us one more time." Sarah nodded, her heart still racing. She bit her lip, unsure if she could capture the same delight she had felt dancing. And yet, the flicker of possibility hung in the air like fairy dust, urging her to take that step. As they turned to face the stage, Sarah felt torn between the essence of joy she wished to cling to and the shadow of doubt that loomed. But there was something about Tom, an unwavering presence that stirred courage in her chest. Would she choose to savor this moment and trust in the magic of what could be? The thrill of uncertainty settled in her stomach as she turned her gaze to Tom, an unspoken question lingering between them. Would he still be there when the music faded? The magician stepped onto the stage, a figure clad in deep blues and glittering silvers, capturing everyone's attention like a match striking a flame. Sarah felt her heart flutter, the anticipation in the air almost tangible. She turned to Tom, who was already watching her, a grin plastered on his face as if they were sharing an inside joke with the universe. "Ready for some magic?" he asked, his tone playful. "Always," she replied, her smile growing wider, the doubt momentarily pushed aside. The magician began with simple sleights of hand, pulling coins from behind ears and transforming scarves into birds. Each flourish elicited gasps and cheers, but the real magic happened when he called a volunteer from the audience. A little girl, wide-eyed and giddy, hopped onto the stage, filling a quiet space with her contagious excitement. The magician invited her to choose a card from a deck. When she picked, he paused for effect, and the crowd inhaled sharply. "Let us see if my magic can show us what true happiness looks like," he said, holding her chosen card close, a solemn look in his eye before bursting into a huge smile and revealing a heart, her selected card. The crowd erupted in applause, and the little girl blushed, reveling in her moment of wonder. Sarah watched, her heart swelling with a mix of joy and longing. The scene struck a chord deep within her. Happiness wasn't something to be chased. It could be revealed. She tugged at Tom's shirt and leaned closer, whispering, "Did you see that?" She just lit up the stage with her joy. "It's so beautiful." "Just like you," he replied, a hint of sincerity in his voice that made her pulse quicken. The performance continued, each trick uncovering layers of awe. But Sarah felt the undercurrent of her own fears creeping back. What if magic was just an illusion? The thought sent a chill down her spine. She could feel the old patterns threatening to cling to her. "What if I can't keep this?" she murmured to Tom, glancing quickly at him. "This moment is bound to fade, right?" He turned to her, concern etching his features again. "Moments come and go, but that doesn't make them any less real. It's okay to cherish them, even if they're fleeting." Sarah's heart ached at his resolve. His words were like a gentle push, urging her to embrace the now. Maybe it was true. Happiness might be temporary, but realms of joy could be created from the smallest fragments, like how the magician spun the ordinary into the extraordinary. "And who has to say you can't remake those moments?" he added, as if reading her thoughts. "The music can stop, but the song can continue in your heart. And you don't have to do it alone." The crowd erupted again as the magician made the little girl vanish, only to reappear moments later in the back of the audience, giggling with delight as the magician bowed, arms spread wide. Joy mingled with relief, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt the world align. Maybe, just maybe, there was magic to be found in vulnerability too. As the show ended, loud applause filled the air, but inside her, a storm of possibility was building. She looked at Tom, a hope blossoming in her chest. What if we made our own magic? Tom's eyes lit up, his expression brimming with enthusiasm, yet a hint of uncertainty remained, sparking a question that lingered. What would that look like for us? Waves of possibility washed over Sarah as she took a breath, the weight of her past slowly dissolving under the power of new beginnings. Could they truly weave happiness from uncertainty? With the evening sun casting a warm glow around them, Sarah felt herself at a crossroads. Would she reach for what was just out of her grasp or hold back in fear? "Let us find out together," she finally said, determination weaving into her voice. But the question lingered like an unanswered spell in the air. What magic awaited them beyond the curtain of doubt? The buzz of energy danced in the atmosphere as Sarah and Tom stepped away from the magically spirited performance. The fairgrounds hummed with life and laughter, illuminating the night in a way that felt like dreams were hovering at their fingertips. The lingering question echoed in her mind. Could they really create their own magic together? As they wandered along the colorful stalls, Sarah couldn't help but look at Tom. He was more than just a safe space. He was a beacon of encouragement who saw the flicker of potential in her soul that even she had doubted. "You know," she began, the words tumbling out as they strolled past twinkling lights and singing performers, "I think you're right. Each moment doesn't have to be perfect to count." Tom grinned, the embodiment of possibility. "Exactly. Life isn't perfect, it's about taking those moments and crafting something beautiful from them." They stopped at a stand selling glowing paper lanterns. The soft light radiated hope, and in that small flicker, Sarah felt emboldened. What if we let go of what was and just embraced what is? We could start small, creating our community space one step at a time. "That sounds incredible, Sarah. Just imagine what we could build together," he replied, excitement igniting in his eyes. "We could have weekly gatherings for single parents, classes for kids, a place where people feel safe and supported. No labels." The vision blossomed within her, a tapestry of dreams and laughter unfolding. Just then, a shimmering lantern floated up into the night sky, glowing like the hope she now felt within. If they could gather fragments of joy and support those struggling, the ripple effect could change everything. Feeling a shift within her, Sarah turned to face Tom, her heart racing. "I want us to be more than partners in this project. I want us to openly embrace whatever this connection can become. No more holding back." His eyes widened, then softened, a smile blooming. "You'd really want that?" "Absolutely," she affirmed, a surge of warmth flooding through her. "I want to explore this with you, to find out what we can create not just for the community but for us too." Tom stepped closer, his gaze piercing through her walls and straight into her heart. "I want to craft our own magic, the kind that builds community and love." Together, their hearts aligned, an understanding forming like woven threads. The weight of uncertainty faded, dissolving under the warmth of mutual desire. The fairgrounds transformed around them, no longer a backdrop but a canvas awaiting their first strokes. With a newfound determination, Sarah claimed that moment as a turning point. She could see it now, the laughter of children mingling with dreams made real, friendships nurtured through shared struggles. The lanterns above seemed to cheer her on as they twinkled in response to her revelations. "Let us make a plan," she said, her voice steady but charged with excitement. "Let us be the change we want to see. I'm ready to stop being afraid and start embracing every bit of this." Tom's smile widened, filling her with a warmth that reached her very core. "Then let us do it. I believe in us and I'll be here every step of the way." They shared a heartfelt gaze, a silent promise to face both the challenges and the adventures ahead. With every banter and shared laughter, Sarah felt the past loosening its grip. The shadows faded, replaced by a vibrant aura. As they moved further into the fair, unity blossomed. Hand in hand, they approached a booth, threading their fingers together with the effortless ease of a promise made anew. Tom called out, "Let us grab some snacks before we keep planning." The bubbling excitement surfaced, reflected in the shimmers of lights around them. A sense of belonging enveloped them like a cozy blanket on a crisp evening. Sarah noticed her children nearby, wide-eyed with excitement, and her heart swelled with pride. They were on the precipice of something wonderful, an adventure that would not only uplift her, but create a space for many others. In that instant, Sarah realized that sometimes the real magic is found not in the grand gestures, but in the simple, sincere moments shared with imperfect people who are willing to show up just as they are. As she shared laughter and food with Tom and her kids, Sarah saw a future unfolding, a future filled with love, warmth, and community. They didn't know exactly where it would lead, but that was part of the wonder. Together, they were ready to shape their own narrative. And every step felt lighter, fueled by hope. The fair around them buzzed with alive energy, reflecting the transformation taking place within Sarah. She had come to understand that her past was just a chapter, not the whole story. This was their moment and it had only just begun. Now, don't let this transformation slip away. If you want to be part of more inspiring journeys like Sarah's, you need to subscribe immediately to this channel. Show your support for these incredible stories by leaving a like right now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear your thoughts, so comment below with how you felt about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of transformation. Together, let us create a community built on support and hope.